Last time we covered Wilson, Willow, Wolfgang, Wendy, WX78, and Wickerbottom, and today we're going to finish off the Reign of Giants character roster with Wagstaff, Woodie, Wigfrid, Weber, Wes, and Maxwell. And because I don't feel like doing a drawn-out intro today, let's just get right to it! In addition to Wilson, Wagstaff is the other character available from the get-go when you first start playing Don't Starve. He is currently a single-player exclusive character and is not available in DST as a playable character, and is only available on platforms that also have the Hamlet DLC as an available option. An inventor, former snake oil salesman, and businessman, Robert Wagstaff is the founder of the Voxola Radio Company of Sydney, Ohio, which manufactured the Voxola PR76 radio, the same radio Maxwell used to communicate with Wilson, as well as DST's Walter and Woodie's abandoned cabin. And it also appears to be the headpiece of the divining rod item. Wagstaff is believed to have created WX78, and there is supposition that he is not fully physically present in the constant based on how distorted he becomes when hurt. Additionally, it would seem that to the extent he is present in the constant, it was of his own volition in order to seek knowledge, though there may also have been an accident of some sort. Stat-wise, Wagstaff has base health of 150 but max hunger of 225 and reduced sanity of 150. He has a unique crafting tab, Tinkering, that lets him make exclusive items and structures, including the AoE tree harvesting thumper and the long-distance warping telebrella and telepad. However, being nearsighted, he must wear special goggles to prevent the world from being a headache-inducing blur beyond his immediate surroundings. He also has a delicate stomach and takes 3 damage from eating any raw food, including jerky. Wagstaff's reliance on his goggles, unless you don't mind the blurriness, means he's forced to use non-headgear means of staying warm in winter, dry in spring, and cool in summer. Because this will test your survival skills, I don't necessarily recommend him for learning the game straight out of the gate. But once you're more experienced, he can be a lot of fun to play, and is who I've been playing in my Reign of Giants playthrough series, linked to the playlist up in the corner. The last character to be unlocked by experience in Vanilla Don't Starve at 80 days of experience, Woodie is a Canadian lumberjack who is also cursed. Despite having already had his DST character refresh, surprisingly little is known about his backstory, though we do know that the tales of his curse were enough to entice DST's Walter to go looking for him. Voiced by a cello, Woodie has default stats of 150 health and hunger and 200 sanity, and does default damage in combat. He starts the game with a sentient axe named Lucy, and with her is able to chop down trees in record time. Lucy has infinite durability, though she does less damage than a regular axe when used as a weapon. His perk, though, is also his drawback. Whenever he chops down too many trees in a short period of time, or whenever there is a full moon, his curse becomes revealed and he turns into a werebeaver. Accompanied by the Hoedown soundtrack, in this form he has night vision, is immune to weather effects and poison, and has neither health nor hunger nor sanity. He also has no inventory and cannot use the map. Instead, he has a beaverness meter that gradually goes down on its own, or quickly when he takes damage, but it can be refilled by eating most non-food vegetative matter that grows in the world, as well as their dropped resources. While in the were form, Woodie is able to very quickly chop trees, mine boulders, and dig stuff up. He also has a decent bite attack that hits for 51 damage, the same as a tentacle spike, and his hide absorbs 75% of incoming damage, with the remainder getting subtracted from his beaverness meter. But once the meter reaches 0, Woodie will wake up the next morning at the same spot with 50 health, 37.5 food points, and 50 sanity. Oh, and any angry monsters will also still be there ready to gank you, so be careful about managing where and when you go into and out of were form, especially if it's winter or summer, as getting back to your gear could otherwise prove fatal. In DST, Woodie has 2 additional were forms, the Goose and the Moose. The Goose is great for traveling, including over water, while the Moose is a fighting form. One of these forms is randomly chosen on a full moon or when Woodie eats 2 monster meat within 4 minutes, but he no longer turns into a were form for chopping too many trees. Instead, he has a 50% increased chance to spawn tree guards and poison birch nut trees compared to other characters. He can also craft kitschy idols, one for each were form, to control when he goes into that form, very useful for specific circumstances. When coming out of were form, his hunger is set to 0, so make sure you have a snack nearby or you'll start taking damage from starving to death. There are a few other differences in DST, so to learn more, check out the wiki or another guide elsewhere. But on the whole, Woodie can be a lot of fun to play in both games so long as you properly manage his curse. And finally, the last character to be unlocked by experience is Wigfrid, who requires 96 days of cumulative survival in a non-vanilla world. Her in-game voice is a cacophony of brass horns, likely a sort of homage to the horns of the Valkyrie which she resembles. But not an actual warrior, Wigfrid instead was a stage actress where she played the role of a Valkyrie until she fell out of the spotlight and lost herself in the fantastical memories of her glory days. Wigfrid has higher than base health of 200 but lower hunger and sanity of 120 each. She is also a strict carnivore, only able to eat meat, which she has 4 of at the beginning of the game. Combat oriented, she starts the game with a battle spear and battle helm, which she can craft more of without needing any sort of science station. The spear has a nice 200 uses and does 42.5 damage per hit, so quite a bit better than a regular spear, though less damage than a tentacle spike or fresh handbat. The battle helm provides 80% damage reduction and 20% wetness protection, the same as a football helmet, but has 750 durability compared to the football helmet's 450. In combat, Wigfrid is second only to Wolfgang in raw damage output, with a flat 25% increase to damage dealt and a constant 25% reduction to incoming damage. Whenever she slays a foe, she regains a portion of both health and sanity equal to 25% of the victim's attack strength. All combined, this gives her excellent staying power in noble combat. In DST, her health and sanity gaining power is slightly different, based off of a per hit formula. She also has a new inspiration meter that builds up the longer she fights and the stronger her foe, and once certain thresholds are reached, she can activate various battle songs to give her and nearby allies various buffs. The songbooks must be crafted ahead of time and take up an inventory slot each, but they do have infinite durability. I've personally always been a big fan of Wigfrid with her fearless, rough and tumble combat style. Her meat-only diet can make the early game a bit of a challenge, so you'll want to get a crock pot up fast so you can take advantage of other inedible ingredients so long as the recipe requires at least some meat. But once you get established, she is quite a lot of fun to play. Moving on to characters unlocked by in-game actions, the easiest such character to unlock is everyone's favorite spider boy, Weber. Weber is unlocked by finding his skull, an item that has a 5% drop rate from all types of spiders in Reign of Giants, and then burying the skull in a previously dug up grave. Upon doing so, lightning will strike the grave, Weber will rise up, and then a bunch of spiders will spawn and attack you. According to the wiki, Weber is actually a boy who is living inside of a spider that tried to eat him long ago, however that works. Both he and the spider are now living together, and as such, spiders do not attack him. Though everything else that normally attacks spiders does, including pigs, catcoons, and bunnymen. He has increased health and hunger of 175 apiece, but has low sanity of only 100. He also has a funny sounding voice, which allegedly is a synthesizer that may or may not have been dropped down a flight of stairs. Weber starts the game with a spider nest as well as 2 monster meat, and is able to eat monster foods without any penalty. He also grows a silky beard that provides warmth in the winter and can be shaved for spider silk. It grows faster than Wilson's beard, taking only 9 days to reach full length, but is only about as warm as a tier 1 clothing item in the winter at full size. And like Wilson's beard, it does reduce the effectiveness of summer clothing, though not as much. Weber can befriend spiders by feeding them meat, and feeding 1 spider will cause 4 total nearby spiders to become friends, which will thereafter follow him around and fight his foes, including other non-befriended spiders if combat is initiated by Weber. He can walk on spider webs without disturbing the nest and without movement penalty, and can even upgrade nests with 5 silk and craft new dens with the right ingredients. Based on all that, living near spiders can certainly be advantageous, though be careful if you have Chester around, as the local spiders will attack Chester if they get close enough. Weber is a very different character to play as, and having not yet had a DST character refresh, is currently the same in Don't Starve Together as of the making of this video. His changed up playstyle with his spider friends though definitely mixes things up and can be quite enjoyable. Wes. Wes. One of the more misunderstood characters of Don't Starve, Wes is actually a very kind-hearted soul who just wants to help out and put a smile on others' faces. A French mime, he was actually brought into the Constant by mistake. While trying to return a dropped doll to a little girl and helping a lot of others along the way, he accidentally got snared instead of someone else who was supposed to get pulled into the Constant. The little girl ended up getting both her doll and, I assume, her father back, but having thwarted Maxwell from snaring his intended target, Wes was imprisoned by Maxwell in adventure mode where he remains until freed by another survivor. Specifically, to unlock Wes, you'll need to find a special set piece in adventure mode that will sometimes appear in Chapter 3, so long as the third chapter is not 2 worlds. You'll see Wes imprisoned in an invisible cage, but will have to fight a few rounds of clockworks. If successful, Wes will fall to the ground and disappear, thereafter being a playable character. He is of course available from the get-go in Don't Starve Together. Wes is considered the hard mode character of Don't Starve and has reduced stats across the board. In single player, he has 113 health and hunger and 150 max sanity, while in Don't Starve Together he has only 75 for each stat. He also gets hungry 25% faster than normal characters and deals 25% less damage than normal characters, and as a silent mime, he'll never talk to warn you about an incoming danger. So make sure you listen carefully for the sounds of incoming hounds or giants, and keep a close eye on the clock so you know when darkness is nigh. His special power is that he can make balloons. These cost 5 sanity to inflate, and when attacked, each balloon can deal a whopping 5 damage to anything nearby, including Wes. So yeah, overall not much of an advantage. In DST, there are a number of other special balloon items he can make from his Wes exclusive Balloonomancy crafting tab, so be sure to check out those options if playing the multiplayer version of Wes. Unfortunately, he also comes with some additional drawbacks in DST. He freezes and overheats easier, is slower to recover from being chilled, frozen, or put to sleep, and is apparently very tasty to hounds, which will prioritize attacking Wes over other players. Oh, and he's also more likely to get struck by lightning. Talk about a guy with bad luck. All that said, Wes is a favorite of many players in the Don't Starve community, and the added challenge will definitely keep you on your toes, making Wes a good option if you want something a little different. And last but certainly not least, we have the one and only Maxwell. And do note that this section includes a few adventure mode spoilers, so feel free to skip forward to the next bookmark if you just want to know how he works as a playable character. The only playable character whose name doesn't start with the letter W, Maxwell's real name is actually William Carter, which of course starts with a W, and as noted in part 1 of my character's guide, is the uncle of Wendy and Abigail Carter. He was a struggling stage magician who somehow came into possession of a book, the Codex Umbra, which is roughly Latin for shadow manuscript, from which he learned to summon shadows incarnate and was thus able to achieve the fame and notoriety he so desperately desired. However, he delved too deeply into the tome, and during a performance both he and his stage assistant Charlie were pulled into the world of the Constant, where Charlie somehow became the creature that attacks from the darkness, while Maxwell was imprisoned on the Nightmare Throne and given the power to shape the world of the Constant and even bring in other survivors. Maxwell's voice is played on a type of organ known as a harmonium. Time flows differently in the Constant, and we don't know how long Maxwell has been trapped on the Nightmare Throne when Wilson first arrives. But as you journey through adventure mode, Maxwell's dapper appearance degrades over time until you finally find him trapped in the epilogue. There you can place your divining rod in the Nightmare Lock to finally set him free, after which you'll wake up outside Maxwell's door as Maxwell himself, and will thereafter be able to select him as your character when making new worlds. Maxwell has the strongest mind of all the survivors and naturally regenerates 20 sanity per minute. This is counterbalanced by the fact that he is quite frail and only has 75 health. so you'll never want to get into a fight as Maxwell without armor on, as a few hits from just about anything will spell his doom. Conveniently, if you start a new world as Maxwell, you'll start the game with a dark sword and a suit of knight armor, as well as a purple gem, 4 nightmare fuel, and the Codex Umbra itself. This book allows Maxwell to summon shadow puppets at a cost of 15 health, 2 nightmare fuel, and 55-point reduction in his maximum sanity. In single player, these puppets will last 2.5 days and will assist Maxwell in mining boulders, chopping trees, and fighting foes. And once they die or expire, Maxwell's lost sanity will be restored. In multiplayer DST, his sanity regeneration is about 1/3 of its strength in single player, and he starts with 6 nightmare fuel and the Codex Umbra but gets no weapons or armor. The Codex functions as a crafting station when placed on the ground and allows him to create 4 different types of shadow puppets for specific tasks, which in addition to the 2 nightmare fuel require a shovel for diggers, an axe for loggers, a pickaxe for miners, and a spear for duelists. They also last forever until killed, and Maxwell loses 35% of his max sanity when he makes duelists, but only 20% of his sanity for the worker types. In both single and multiplayer, Maxwell is quite a versatile character to play as, and one that I personally rather enjoy. His shadow puppets aren't too good in combat, but are quite handy for gathering materials. And his mental fortitude makes him great for doing things that would drive other characters insane, though you'll want to be extra cautious of his low health and always have strong armor and healing options on hand. And that's it for the playable characters of Don't Starve Reign of Giants, as well as most of the characters in Don't Starve Together. But don't worry, I'm sure I'll cover the other single player DLC characters at some point, as well as the DST exclusives. In the meantime, let me know down in the comments who your favorite character is, and did you know that I live stream Don't Starve and various other games? Be sure to check out my community page on my channel to see my weekly live stream schedule and other important updates. Thanks for watching, and now get out there and don't starve!